You know, I've had a full day to process this. I've had a full day, almost, to process this game, this ending. But it feels like the more time that I process it, the more unable I am to speak or formulate any coherent sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to be a coherent discussion. This is not going to be a full-on review of all the schematics of this video game. I'm not in the right mental space for that. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm sleepy. I could not sleep last night after completing this game. Man, bro. I've had the main menu that has given me PTSD both visually and from an audio standpoint just stuck inside of my brain. It's the only mental image that I see whether my eyes are open or not. And it's the only thing my ears are hearing. Ding, dun, 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 dun. Bro, man, ladies and gentlemen, let's try to get through this. Let's try to get through this together. There's so much to talk about. But I guess from the start, I guess we'll do like a spoiler-free thing first and get right into the spoiler discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, this game was so special that my original intention was to share my journey with all of you over on Twitter and have that experience recorded so that we could keep it as a journal of sorts for us to look back on and be like, man, this is what that experience was like. And to also share with other people what I normally share with a select few individuals who I've already completed the game, because I'm always late to the to everything, right? In regards to the Trail's greatness, either I was catching up or I'm the last person to play the last entry, just based on time and how long it takes me to complete a game. But for this one, since I don't know anyone who has completed the game, I had no one to spam. And I knew I was gonna have no one to spam. And so my original thought process was to share the adventure on Twitter. I started the prologue, and about like 20 minutes in, I said, I can't do this. If I stay on this website, I am going to spoil every single person out there. And so, if that's how I felt during the prologue, here in the finale, as I finished the game last night, and now this morning did all the remaining side content, I am sitting before you here today to tell every single person out there who has not played Kai No Kiseki Farewell Ozemuria two things. Number one, you already know the rating for this game, so if you're only here for a rating, you already know what it is. And in that same line of thought goes in number two. If you are not a fan of the universal language, please click off this video. This is not the one for you. More so than the original Trails Journey video. More so than any One Piece chapter reaction. More so than what we've been covering on a weekly basis. You do not want to watch this video if you are not a fan of the universal language. This is not the one for you, man. This is not the one for you. And so, this game right here, for those of you who can't wait to play it, just know there is magic on the other side. I mean, we're talking, ladies and gentlemen, now you feel like number one shining bright for everyone. I came off of a hurricane. Power and internet barely working. And this is what was waiting for me. I forgot we even had a hurricane until I looked on the news after I completed the game. That's how immersed I was. And my internet's still faulty. I hope this video can even go up. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get into spoilers because I can't hold it anymore. This game, you already know, highest possible rating. Period. One of the greatest finales. Not just in Trails, but in the games that I've experienced. This finale is... This game is... I gotta understand, man. I can't take it anymore, bro. I can't take it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, spoiler warning. Do not watch the rest of this video if you do not want to get spoiled, man. 3, 2, 1... Bro, man, what in the world did I experience last night? Bro, when I got into this game, when the trailers were dropping, I was like, okay, man, we're gonna get a Cold Steel 4 hype fest. I'm gonna be jumping up and down, Santa hats flying over the place, Jordan jersey level awesome sauce. I'm gonna feel my chest hairs start regenerating, man. I'm gonna grow new chest hairs by the boxing that I'm going to see. And I did. And I did. But I did not expect this game to be a thematic masterpiece, bro. I did not expect this game to actually strike a stronger chord from a heart and mind perspective than the Goro Fire Peak Blood. It struck a stronger chord with the insanity that was dropping, the knowledge, the lore, and the twists, and the emotional moments, than even the hype. And the hype was astronomical. You have some of the most hype moments in the entire series. And I'm sitting here before you today saying that I'm coming out of this game contemplating so many things because it's such a high concept video game. It feels like Tetsuya Takahashi of Xenogears combined with Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball to give us real shonen with a twist. With a twist. And that's Trails. This is the most Trails game you can ever Trails. Bro, man. I thought Cold Steel 3 destroyed me. Holy flagnards. Alright, man. We're gonna start from the ending and work our way around. We're going to start from the ending and work our way around. And I'm going to talk about the ending from the ending and the ending from the Grim Garden, because both of them hit me on different levels where I was just losing my mind. Let's go ahead and start with the actual ending, because it's the thing I haven't been able to stop thinking about. Like I said, the main menu theme and the visual. The visual of Agnes on the main menu has been rent-free. It's been rent-free, and I'm going to assume it's going to stay rent-free for until the next game drops. Dude, I was wondering the entire time, especially during Act 2 and Act 3. I was like, how are we going to conclude all of this? It felt like we were setting so much stuff up. But I was wondering, how much game time do we actually have left? In all 3 routes, there was so much setup. And everything was so consistent thematically, tying back to the sword that will pierce the heavens, the ambition to pierce the heavens, regret, lies, truth, so many things that are prominent in every single aspect of this game. And I was like, where is this all going to lead? You had moments upon moments building up to this finale that when it started off, I was like, there's no way they're gonna wrap all this up in a chapter. There's just no way. So already I was going into it being like, are we gonna have another game? Because entering the final chapter, I was like, there's no way we're wrapping all this up. There's no way. No way in the Flagnards. And so we enter that final section. I'm going through the dungeon. I understand the mission at hand is to go get Agnes and Ren after what was going down with Dominique. And I'm like, what is going on top of everything else? I'm like, what is going on? I had just gotten off of the insane high that was Kevin Graham and that incredible Loppy section in Crayon where you're walking around as Loppy seeing the past and then you cut back and you're back in the present. Mario and her transfer. I was like, what is going on? And then you get Kevin Graham pulling up a Professor LaToya Hamilton, which after Kai No Kiseki 2, I was like, yeah, she's spooky. But I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this at all, man. And so you get the culmination there. I was already like, my God, this is insane. You see the launch. You cut over to Reen B and go, man, Schwarzenegger's the greatest ever do it. The fact that my favorite moment in this game does not have that man in it. It goes to show. It goes to show. I had just come off of the high of seeing Yoon Kai Fi, the character I'd wanted to see more than any other character, man, because he trained the Shanks of the Verse in Cassius. He trained my favorite Trails character in Reen Schwarzer. He even trained the trollest of all trolls, that's not Gilbert, and Analasse. He trained Alan Richard. He trained the legends, man. They all know Yoon Kai Fi. And so when he popped up in the van route, I was like, let's flipping go. It's time. And we knew off the trailers he was going to be in the game, but I didn't know the role. And so when Reen is like, I don't care if meteors are falling from the sky. I don't care if time itself is in my way. I got to see my master and prove my own skill. I was like, that's the man. Oh, man, I was hyped. I was, my seat almost broke, bro, do you know how hype that Reen versus Yoon Kai Fi sequence was? That entire thing, I was losing my mind, man. I was like, yo, this is some of the most hype stuff that this series has ever done. Go into the finale. Coming off of the Agnes insanity, where the date sequence with her and Van immediately put up red flags in my head, where I was like, this feels very, very, very off. And I'm coming off of an FF7 rebirth that made me feel the exact same way, leading into the final season of that game. And so I was like, wait a minute, man, what are we cooking here? And then Agnes disappears or is called back by, my God, Renee. She's called back home by Renee Kincaid, bro. Holy fuck. Called back. With Ren! And so I'm sitting here like, man, oh man, what's going on? So, finale starts. You go in. Things are popping off. You cut over to the Mirabelle section. And you get the crumbs that have been dropped over the course of the entire game for Rosette. And I'm like, what are we building here with Rosette? The other blue-haired chick in Anchorville, and I'm like, what are we doing? So we cut over to Mirabelle and we find out that Rosette is from the future. Bro, that she's from the future. When that thing said 12:59, I was like, excuse me, I thought it was an error. But it couldn't be an error because it's on the screen. It could not have been a translation error because I saw this thing on the screen. 12:59 Anchorville. So I'm sitting here looking at it like, hello? Is no one going to question this one? What do we got going on? What do we have going on? This, on top of all the other remnant stuff, we brought back Melchior, right? We got back Melchior. We got Melchior back. You see Viola and the dude that does this. And I'm like, oh my God, what are these remnants? You see Aaron's ancestor? Looking raw. Looking raw. Looking raw. And I'm like, oh man, what are we cooking with these Dremnin, dude? Bro, the residue, right? With another Dawn. So Mirabelle drops that. I'm already losing my mind. I've been losing my mind the whole game. But that was like no, something really weird is going on here. I don't know what it is, but it's not making any sense. So then we get to Roy Gramhart. And when I tell you this man is a father, oh my God, is this man a father? He's a dad of dads. Everything he has done is for the sake of his daughter, and what a legend he is. His ambition, him going up to the Grand Master in Hajimari makes so much sense after this game, and in particular, the Sophie episode that I saw this morning in the post game, where we see why it is that he was trying so hard to make sure that this doesn't happen again. The cradle. He's going to go out there and pierce the heavens, not going to allow Agnes to bear all the burden. We don't know that at the time. So I'm sitting here, I'm seeing Roy Gramhart. Costumes there. I already knew it was going to be a toxic boss battle. The game's already hard enough as it is. So I was like, okay, we're about to fight this man. We're going to fight Renee. We're going to fight Bozo's Viola and this dude. And I'm like, oh my God. So we get into the battle. I finish it barely, because this game is hard as Flagnord's. We get out of it, and we get treated to the most insane sequence in the entire Calvert arc, man. And that is high praise. High praise coming off of not just this game's insanity, but also the insanity in Kuro 2 and Kuro 1 that had their very own sequences, but nothing compared to this. This is the other two games building up to the finale of this entire sequence. I was starting to lose my mind, man. And so when Roy Gramhart is starting to spill out his entire plan and the vision for his plan, and the themes of the story are truly coming into play here with ambition and all that, I was like, bro, what's going on, man? What is going on? And so then Hermes, aka Amelia Harling, a legend, by the way, a legend, goes in to the sky. Coming off of the Rien route, we know that there were, depending on the individual, they were seeing different space, right? So some individuals were seeing the stars, other individuals, as in Rien and Crow, whom their other counterparts had actually gone out and seen the real thing, were seeing something completely different. And so right off that, I immediately thought of Hajimori, and I was like, yo, this is what Ishmael Gareen was talking to Lloyd about, like, you don't know what's out there, playa. Like, this is some crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Do you want me to tell you? Because it's actually nuts. You feel me? I know what I saw, and this is what he saw, man. And so I can't blame him. He was trying to save the world, and they wouldn't let him. And he's a very tragic character, my boy Ishmael Gareen. But, and so we cut back, and we see Emilia up there in the skies. We start seeing the actual space. What Rien and Crow saw is the truth. And so I'm already losing my mind. I'm having such a field day with this because it's just so Trails. It is so Trails, and so many questions are coming into play. Like, okay, who caused this entire thing for them to be inside of this cradle that feels like they're locked inside of this thing? Who caused such a thing? And how are they going to get out of it? And so you immediately see the Cronkite thing. They blast some tactical nukes in there with reactive weapons. I'm like, okay, well, we're doing this thing. Then we start playing as Emilia herself. Hype stuff, man. Hype stuff. You go in there, you're in space, you're boxing, everything's good. I was like, okay, no, we're doing this thing. We are doing this thing for the betterment of the future of mankind. Near Automata style, glory to mankind. Glory to mankind. And so I was already like, let's go, man. This is hype. This is some good stuff. Emilia, we've been building to this the whole game. We cannot let her die, especially coming off of her episode as well. And the Connect events that really flesh out how nervous she was for this entire event. So I was happy for her. I was like, let's go. Let's go, not just for her Pops and everybody else who was involved in the mission. I was like, let's go. This is great stuff. But then, man, we cut over and we see what looks like Zoa Gilstein again. The moment I saw it, I was like, oh my God. Because immediately my mind went over to Ishmael Gareen, and I was like, there's no flipping way. I mean, I thought the timelines were converging. That was where I was like, bro, this brother's about to pop up out of there, and we're about to see the insanity of insane stuff, man. Like, I thought that, like, Cold Steel 4 Reen was up there right after having exited the planet. We're about to see some convergence of all different timelines, because it was already happening, right? With the Law Piece stuff, with the remnants, all the timelines were already converging. So I was like, Zola Gilstein. I was like, oh my god. But it wasn't. And so this Gundam pops out of nowhere and it smacks, I mean, one-shots a million. Things are flying down into the earth. Everyone's watching. Reen is watching, Crow is watching, cut over, Kevin's watching. What are we supposed to do? The timer comes back. Grand reset in 15 minutes. I'm like, bro, what in all of Onigashima is happening? We cut over, because the insanity isn't in there. We cut over to where Roy and Renee and Van are, obviously, and they're trying to get Agnes back. Agnes is not there. And so we see that the Genesis starts flickering. And I'm like, what the Flagnards? They were fakes. It was all an illusion. And it wasn't done by the illusionist Boot Hill Honkai Star Rail dude, which is a goat, by the way. That man's lit. Shout out to Grim Guard. But it wasn't him. It wasn't me. It wasn't him. Although he is him. Renee pulls out the real Genesis. They go to stop him. They put everyone on him. Shawn Michaels dropkick into the air. And I'm sitting here like, what is going on? Because one of my theories heading into Kuro 2 was that Renee was the Grendel Zolga. That was my whole thing heading into that game and while playing through the game. So when it didn't happen, I was like, okay. So that wasn't the route they were going with. But when Renee started moving in the way that he was in this game, in that particular moment, I was like, oh God, it's time. It's time. It's like, the theories are coming true. You know what I'm saying? Bro, back of my hairs were standing. And so Renee gets up. You see the gold-haired looking dude, Grendel, from the trailers. And I'm sitting here like, oh no. Oh no. He starts bodying everyone. Well, casually. Casually. Everyone. We didn't have a boss battle. It wasn't as a... Bro, he has a 1,200,000 something HP. I go in, I get him down. Waystar boxing. I mean, it's Van in the Grendel form. It's Renee. I'm like, yo, this is real. Shove it in, bro. I forgot about everything happening. I forgot about the fake space stuff. I forgot about the AI stuff. I was like, nah, this is raw. I was like, the choreography, they were boxing. But then Renee opens a portal, and I was like, what in the world's going on? We get the shot from the trailer. They land on the moon. Bro, the moment Van landed on the moon, bro, I jumped. I was like, oh, this is DBZ, you know what I'm saying? I was losing my mind. Then we get the shot from the trailer where he goes in, looks down, except this time we don't see the Agnes tier. But I thought of the Agnes tier whenever I saw this. So I was like, what's going on, man? So we cut over. They start boxing. Then you, as the player, go into an action sequence where you're not in the turn-based thing, you're in the action sequence. So you're boxing. It's you one-on-one on the flipping moon, bro. And I'm like, yo, this is Gurren Lagann to the max. The most hype stuff, man. And the fact that it was against Renee and the dialogue, I was like, yo. So I was like, F it, man. This is what I'm talking about. You feel me? And I was thinking back to the Elaine Connect event from earlier. One of the best moments in the game as well, where we have the Elaine stuff in the school with Van, and she gives the confession. But of course, they talk about her, the three-way relationship between her, Van, and Renee. And so when they're talking about Renee, especially in the way that they were, I was like, man, I wonder what kind of role he's going to play, because he is such an integral part of that entire trio. So when he starts doing all this, I was like, bro, this man was always in control. So at this moment, I'm going full big picture, right? I'm like, So what is his plan? I don't know what's coming after. So I'm just like, bro, what in the world is his plan? So we're boxing him. We finish boxing him on the moon. Hype stuff. We cut back. We box him with the other side of the party. That's it for the battles, right? So he goes in. And starts talking about the fact that he's in cahoots with Agnes. And immediately I thought back to every other thing that happened in this game. I thought back to the opening sequence of the game where Van saw somebody who looked like Agnes heading into Trion Tower. That I thought was a very strange, minute detail. This game was very good in attention to detail, by the way, just insanely good. All the different times that Agnes was like, "Oh, yeah, that'll be the day. That'll be the day. That'll be the day. That'll be the day." We see like little flashback sequences where she's talking about that particular day, how she wants to make more memories, in particular with that entire section with Van. And so it's like, what is going on, bro? So all that starts popping off. Trion, Yume, Paulette, and Maxim all head into Trion Tower. And I think back to the end of Kuro 2, where I'm like, oh my god, like this is all tying back to then. And so we go up Trion Tower. Everyone calls in. And you get the finale of finales, man. The cliffhanger of cliffhangers. Where Agnes makes the decision to bear all of the burdens. Bear all of that pain. Take us right into the future to ensure that those that she loves and cares about will actually have that future. And as Nina and Hamilton, Campy, and all the other observers are standing there, she declares it, that she's going to go through with it. And Barry and Judith, Aaron, the entire Arkwright Solutions office is screaming at her to stop, that they can think of something else. But Anya's already made up her mind, man. And we know how she is. And so I'm sitting here, bro. I'm standing up. I have every hair on my body standing. I don't know what's going on. I'm waiting for a Daybreak 1 situation where Van breaks through the screen and is like, F all that nonsense. Now, just like how Anya did for him, he's going to come back and do it for her, bro. And so I'm waiting for him to jump up Trion Tower or Yume to go in and interrupt her or something. But then she starts transforming. She transforms into the flipping logo. And I'm sitting there like, I thought the logo was either Nina or the Grandmaster. Who would have ever thought it was actually Agnes? All of the Genesis come together. The grand reset is like 5 seconds away. The music starts playing, man, and my god, it's a crescendo of crescendos. Tears are falling down. I'm like, bro, what is happening? And she goes in to save everyone, to say farewell to Zemuria, and it hits even harder on the next day because I saw the Sophie event and how she had to write a letter to those she cared about, and this was her letter to everyone she cared about. And so we now know the reasoning behind that title. It is a literal farewell to Zemuria as they head off into space, but it's also Agnes' farewell to the Zemuria that we all once knew, and to the Arkwright Solutions office. And so as she gets up and starts delivering those lines, and then you get that powerful sequence where everything starts resetting. Everyone's yelling. Van's the only one left. He yells out, Agnes! And you go into his eye. And the credits start playing, those evil, dastardly, flipping credits that show every interaction that we've had with Agnes throughout the course of all these games, the memories we've created with her. And then it goes in throughout the eye, like the Akashic eye. Van falls back, and I felt so bad for him, bro. I really did, man, because just like he said in the Connect event earlier on in the game, I believe it was an act right before the finale, where he was talking about the fact that it's thanks to y'all, it's thanks to the Arkwright Solutions office that I am who I am today. It's all thanks to y'all. It's Yoshida Shoyo who did he pick me up or did I pick him up? I don't know. But But I'm so glad we found each other. That's what Van hit. And so for the person, the number one assistant, the end of the glue that held everything together, to not be erasing all of that. And as you saw the memories blur, and Anya, the flipping music, man, as she says bye to Van, and you're like, I get it, man. It's like we're living. If Trails from Zero would have ended where it started, where you go through that entire game, and it ends at the beginning where they all die and time resets. That's what this flipping game was. And so I was just sitting there like, oh my God, because it goes back to the very, very beginning and all the memories that we've made. And so then we get that iconic final shots of Agnes doing the final thing, to be continued in Van's final episode. And we get the main menu that I stared at for hours as the music kept playing, man. The cliffhanger that hurt me the most. The Cold Steel 3 cliffhanger destroyed me. But at the very least then, they had the memories that they had with each other. Coming out of this ending, I'm not sure if Van's gonna have the memories of Agnes. And just me thinking about that puts a lump in my throat. Because there's nothing I'm more weak to than the memory thing being utilized in fiction. Nothing. When memories start being put into the picture, that is one of my life's philosophies. Is to create memories, because that's all we have. To prove not only our existence, but our relationships with others. It's our memories, man. It's the connections that we make through those memories. You take away someone's memories, you're taking away who they are. If Agnes utilizing that reset, that one shot keeps constantly replaying in my head, where Agnes first meets Van opens the door, and she disappears. Are we gonna see a Kai No Kiseki 2 where Van wakes up and it is Daybreak 1 at the very beginning, but there is no Agnes? What does that mean? What is going to happen because of that? There's so many questions, but above all of that, it's the heartfelt thing that I have for Agnes and her willingness to be able to do that, man. And I'll tell you something. Those flagnards really hit me hard, because I didn't play the final section of the Grim Garden until this morning, because I was just so invested in the finale that I said I'm gonna save that for after I finish the game. And I'm so glad I didn't, because it would have been double tears. But bro, when you have that sequence where Mare brings in Yorda, and then she's like, oh, Agnes has re-registered into the system, even though she's not with you guys. The memories and connections that y'all have made that go beyond space and time. So I'm reading this with context from the finale, and I start tearing up. And the following screen shows that for that chapter, even though there was no action, the MVP was Agnes. I took a screenshot and said, yes, that is the MVP. Agnes is the flipping MVP, man. What a character. Oh, man. And when she starts yelling, or when Van starts yelling at Agnes, being like, that's why you dressed up in your uniform? So that I would reject you 110%. Like, there would be no shadow of a doubt in my mind. Like, if she's in her uniform, there's no way I would ever go out with somebody like that. But it's more about the Agnes side of things. The fact that she went out of her way to do that so that Van would inevitably, even though she knew he would, to double down and be like, okay, just in case there was that little sliver of potential possibilities, I'm gonna put on this uniform so that he doesn't do it. I'm gonna do this final date, which is my dream birthday. I don't think I'm gonna watch and play that entire section again, man. That's just gonna hit hard, bro. With end of game, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play anything in this series the same ever again, or at least from the Calvert section. That recontextualization really took me out, man. I mean, it hit hard. This is a very hard-hitting finale. And the fact that she was willing to do that is truly what hit the hardest, because you know why she's doing it, because of the connections she made with the family that she just created. The same reason why Roy Gramhart did everything he did for his daughter. We know that Anya has sacrificed so much for her part-time job, and the closer she got to everyone else, the easier it was for her to make that decision. Like, I would much rather they live on together because I love them so much than I having a future with them. It's some powerful stuff, man. And so if we're going to be playing around with memories in this next game, especially with what we've been doing with like past, present, and future, where like Van feels similar to how it was in Kuro 2, where he feels that something's off before they all knew about the resets. And this time, like he'll see like Anya's in the room, but she's really not there. It's like, when the flag arts is that. If we start doing that kind of stuff, it's going to destroy me in the next game, man. It's going to destroy me in the next game. And so before we talk about Kai No Kiseki 2 and those possibilities, let's talk about some other stuff in this game that really hit home. Let's go into the other side in the Grim Garden as I attempt to recollect myself, because like I said, that finale just hit so hard, man. And the Grim Garden side of things. I can't believe that they had the audacity to say that this stuff is optional. In no planet. There's no timeline where the stuff in Grim Garden is optional. You want to know why it's not optional? You want to know why it's not optional, man? I had been wondering the entire game, where is the Grandmaster? I saw her in the opening. I saw her in the trailer leading up to it. Where is the Grandmaster? We meet up with Novartis, get some fantastic little insight there into him, the relationship with the three disciples, as well as his relationship with Dr. Epstein, which was very, very interesting stuff in regards to him being like the only quote-unquote direct disciple, and all this stuff that happened in the year of Epstein's death, which I thought was extremely interesting stuff. But directly after that, we hear a voice. The moment I heard that voice, I stood up, bro. I was like, hold on, man. That is the aura merchant. That is the aura of auras right there. The Grandmaster shows up. Everything pauses. Everyone is shook. Like, oh my god, it's her. Novartis kneels. Like he's a Code Geass character. Like he's someone in front of Shanks. I mean, kneel. The Grandmaster starts speaking to him in a very soft-spoken voice. And I'm like, she's directly in front of the flipping party, man. And so it's the equivalent of like the Straw Hats being in front of Instant Messenger Sama. And I'm like, oh my god. And so they're in front of the Grandmaster. I can't wait just to see an interaction. I don't care about what she says. I don't care about anything else. I just want to see them interact. When the thing popped up, I still have a screenshot on my phone from what I took from the television. I have a screenshot that has, when the Grandmaster's name or the title pops up, the Grandmaster of Ouroboros, and it shows up. I was like, yeah! I mean, I was hyped, bro. I was hyped, man. I was like, no way, bro. Because obviously, we were coming off of this entire Ouroboros section, so many great stuff and interactions throughout the entirety of the Grim Garden. But like I said, just to actually see this, and then it's what she says, man. Of course, the eternal reoccurrence plan, and we started learning more insight into it. It was also really cool to see how many individuals hold McBurn in such a high esteem. Novartis, in particular, creating the ion to parallel McBurn's power. I was like, my God, I mean, my boy McBurn is just him. And they started comparing the illusionist's Boot Hill, his power to McBurn as well. And I was like, bro, you gotta measure it to the legend, you know what I'm saying? To the man who is him is the McBurn. So I was like, okay, this is clean. So we cut over to the Grandmaster. Grandmaster has a really cool moment with Ren, introducing herself over to everybody. Everyone's just shook. But my boy Van Arkwright, the MC, my boy introduces himself with the agency. And he's just like, nah, I'm him! Even in the face of the Grandmaster, bro. And so we get an incredible dialogue exchange there. And then the Grandmaster reveals that after all of this is taking place in Kaiten, which is everything that's happening. They will meet once again, which is a guarantee. We're going to see her meeting up with the rest of the party in Kai 2. And man, oh man, I hope everybody else is there this time as well. Because I need to see her interactions with Kevin Graham. I need to see her interactions with Reen Schwarzer. I need to see those interactions, man, by the love of all Spider. Please. And so you have that moment that meant so much to me as a longtime Trails fan. I had always wanted to see a moment with the Grandmaster meeting with anyone from our party, not just Ouroboros members. And so when we had them where she shows up in front of all of them, it truly was like a oh snap moment. I was locked in. Man. Definitely a major highlight from this game, one of my favorite moments, just because it's the Grandmaster, right? But cutting back into some other stuff, let's talk about Nina for a second before I go into Kevin and Green's routes, as well as some more Van route, because all three routes are so exceptional. But in particular for the Nina stuff, I was wondering how is this game going to cover and do Nina's character, considering how integral that was to the end of Kuro 2 and my major and biggest takeaway from that game, which was that entire Nina section. I was shocked. And so I saw the episode this morning with how she met Rufina, and I was like, oh, wow. Because obviously we saw that in the Kevin stuff and how the Rufina has a connection also to the illusionist dude, to Boot Hill. And so you have the connection to Boot Hill, which was brought up multiple times by Kevin in regards to the Rufina stuff. And so I thought that in and of itself was already very interesting. But then you bring Nina into it, and it's like, okay, so now for sure we're going to get some sort of resolution to that in Kai 2 for sure. For sure. So the Nina stuff in this game I really, really enjoyed. In particular, whenever she started showing off what she can do. So whenever she shows up there when they're in Tharbad and at the end of the dungeon, and she single-handedly wipes out everybody that's there, I thought it was very important because what Nina does there is why, like, the Grandmaster, I'm assuming, is as feared as she is, and respected, obviously, for the kind of person that I believe that she is, based on the interactions, as well as who she potentially is, right, like the goddess stuff and all that. But in terms of just straight up from a power standpoint too, because this is a very Battle Shonen-esque series that cares a lot about that stuff too, right? So, for example, like the Renee taking on the entire party there at the end, and they stood no chance. That's a very clear indication, like, yeah, like this thing is built different. This golden form is completely built different, and we're gonna have to deal with that when when the next game comes out. And similarly, when I saw Nina stuff, I was like, man, if that's what Nina can do, what can the Grandmaster do? And when I start thinking about stuff like that, that's when you know it's really exciting. And so the Nina stuff there was really good. But I think my favorite part about Nina's entire journey was anytime we cut back and saw her acting out in that one play, which is talking about the history of Calvard. Not only was it very important for the world building of the entire game, but I thought it was just so immensely important for Nina as a character who was thrust into a role that we're not even sure that she wanted, and now has to act that out. So it feels like whenever she's actually acting out here, she's free to be who she wants to be, which is to live out this other life, which is what she probably wanted to live, right? And so anytime we got to cut back and see some of that stuff, I was super into it, considering that as the context. And so the Nina stuff, and I guess by direct affiliation, the Kevin stuff in the second game, which I'm assuming will have it, since I'm looking at this from the frame of we failed in this game. Kind of like how we failed in the original timeline of Close to 4, and we failed in the original timeline of 0. We failed here again. So my assumption is that in the next game, Kevin's going to be here with Rias. Actually Rias this time. The individual who was missing this entire time. And we kept seeing Kevin's regrets and all of that that was taking place there. And I'm going to assume that this time Kevin and Rias, as well as maybe the picnic squad as well, maybe they'll even have somebody with them too, will be there alongside with the Nina stuff, and we're able to wrap up that entire storyline. Because I'm going to assume the Nina stuff, the stuff with Boot Hill and Kevin and Rias with the Rufina thing, that is all going to come into in some sort of payoff. It's going to have some sort of payoff in the next game. And so that's some really exciting stuff. because obviously I love that stuff from Sky the Third, but to continue it and have two other characters be directly involved with Rufina too is so immensely important, especially considering that Sky the Third really was the first game that showed us the whole remnants thing, because that's what that was, with the mask and seeing what happened with Luve, and then as well as with Rufina. That was like the original thing of what we're seeing now with like the remnants and what we saw back with the Black Workshop. That was like the original version of that. And so for us to have this once again and potentially have a resolution there with the whole Rufina thing, maybe not with Rufina herself being there, but with Kevin and Rias who were carrying on her legacy, that is going to be some really emotional stuff that I'm very, very much looking forward to. As well as potential stuff there with Nina, Agnes, and the Grand Master. Now that they're all dressed, it's similar attire, they must be able to understand each other. I'm very excited to see an interaction between those three characters with each other, whether it be one-on-one and or all three at the same time. That sounds like it'd be really, really exciting. But yeah, the Nina stuff was great, and very much looking forward to seeing what goes on there. As well as, like I said, with the Kevin stuff. The Kevin route in this game I enjoyed so much because it was the most fun from a character interaction standpoint, right? Like obviously the picnic squad is always going to be a great time, but I was really surprised by the level of depth that they went into in regards to the Akashic Eye and really seeing the past and the present, how they were going into the mystery aspect from that standpoint. That was really exciting and super, super cool anytime that we got to code over to Kevin's route. And especially whenever we had the Lapis stuff in part 3 of it, I was like, man, we're really cooking something really, really incredible here. And of course, I didn't know what it was until we got to the finale and saw what it was all building towards. But there's going to be a lot of payoff for that next game. And I'm just so excited for it because it already had such grand setup here with all the members of the picnic squad, knowing what they came off of, knowing what happened with them in the previous game in Kuro 2 with Ace and the trials and tribulations that they all had to go through in order to get Lapis back, who was the Altera at the time, right? And so to have all of them together once again, having Lapis come into her own emotions, understand what it means to lose someone, understand what death is, so that entire sequence to make her come closer to understanding Nadia and Swen and what they had to go through, as well as a Rufus and a Kevin, right? Like these are all individuals who have dealt with their own loss, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how Lapis holds that group together now, having that understanding. And that's going to be so much fun. So much peak fiction is awaiting us with that stuff, especially if Rias ends up joining them. That's going to be a great time. Reen Shores, ladies and gentlemen. This was the most excited thing that I, of course, is my favorite character. So besides the ending of Van's journey, which I thought this was going to be the final game, the thing I was most excited for was definitely the Reen stuff. Especially since we needed to run the ones with Reen and Shizuna. And we ran the ones, man. Yo, let me tell you. So, the Connect events in this particular section were my favorite from a wholesome standpoint. Because of my connection to Class 7, those really hit so hard. All the Connect events hit just on a completely different level in this particular section. But the Basel stuff, like I said, with the fake space and seeing the two different versions of space. But then you get into the conspiracy thing where they go all the way down to the bottom and you're like, man, what really is going on here? Like, we're building on something really, really good. So when we cut over and we see that the computer is reading all of this and the AI is about to give them something like really, really crazy, then Shizuna and the rest pop up and I was like, oh snap, it's happening. Then we get one of the coolest fighting sequences ever with Reen and Shizuna. They're just boxing, man. And I was like, let's go! I was like, yo, let's go, man. You feel me? Real Shonen. So they're boxing. I'm having the time of my life. I'm like, yo, this is everything I wanted and more. Then we do our thing. We fight her. After that, of course, we started seeing what happened with Renee and how he was trying to already, even at that point in time, take matters into his own hands. But of course, they got out of there safe and sound thanks to the preparations they made beforehand with Prince Jareed and stuff. And so I was like, okay, this is really heading into some interesting territory with the conspiracy stuff. But overall, the Recon route was so much fun because the more we saw Yoon Kai fight, the more inevitable it was that they would meet up again. And so when we had that moment in Kunlun, when they finally get to meet up, and we see not just how Reen reacts to the entire thing, but how Toa, Altina, and Crow, and Fee are all there to support him because they know how important this is to him. This is somebody that means a lot to him. This is someone who set him on the path that he is. They even stated themselves, without Yoon Kai Fai, they don't have the Reen that they know and love because he was such an integral part in making him who he is. And so the fact that they were there for him in that moment, just, it hit different, man. It hit different, and I loved it so much. And I was like, I wish Shizuna was here, but obviously she wasn't. And I'll talk about that in a second for why she wasn't, which was a brilliant Connect event. But you just had some great interactions there, and overall with the reading Class 7 route, I was just anytime we cut over, and like the first time we entered the assault frames, I was like, oh, it's Trails of Cold Steel again, you know? I was like, this is fantastic, this is peak. It really is our Cold Steel. So I was like, man, this is beautiful. But of course, as it continues and you see how everyone still knows him as the Ashen Chevalier, and now they know him as the Divine Blade of Ash, and I was like, oh, and Shizuna's Divine Blade of Destruction. But I was like, bro, this is just so good. It feels so good to have those characters on screen again. Like, I absolutely love them. Recon from the future here. You can call me Recon Twinings, you know what I mean, from 1259. But regardless, Recon from the future, I just have to stress this, man. In regards to the Reen route, to my boy, to the main man himself, I can't stress this enough, man. Going from the journey that was Cold Steel 1 to Hajimari, seeing how much he grew not only as a person, but also as a swordsman, seeing both of those elements culminating here in the battles with Shizuna and Yoon Kai Fai, seeing how much he's grown, once again, as both an individual and as a swordsman. It is one of those, my boy has come so far moments, where he was boxing the Divine Blade of Destruction on equal footing, and then proceeded to box their master, the legendary Yoon Kai Fai, also on equal footing. The ultimate sign of my boy is truly a legend around these parts. You know what I'm saying? It's so dope. And it's one of my favorite things about the Trail series is you build these characters up. Every time you switch a protagonist, you hear of what you did in the previous arc, and they treat it as these legendary events that then make those characters that you once took control of feel like legends, feel like individuals that truly made an impact. And even though they started from humble beginnings, they ended up making something of themselves. With Reen in particular, every single time that in this game you would see someone either refer to him as the Divine Blade of Ash, of the legendary Class 7 that was in the Twilight and Erebonium, or in the Great War, in the Civil War, the one who masterfully piloted Valimar. Like, anytime they were hyping up the boy, I was like, yo, like, y'all get it, man. Y'all get it. Y'all see the vision, bro. But on a serious note, it meant a lot because we know how much self-doubt Reen went through as both an individual and as a swordsman, especially in Cold Steel 1. And so I would have loved to see like Laura's reaction as an individual who helped him through that situation in particular. Victor SRC's reaction as an individual who saw him in his ogre state in CS1 and fought him and gave him that epic battle, even though Victor was far superior to him, right? And McBurn, who saw like the potential within Reen, right? And I was like, yo, we're a little similar, you and I, you know what I mean? I would have loved if he could have seen that moment with you and Kai-Fi, similar with Leanne and Aurelia. Once again, two legendary individuals who both saw the potential within this dude who decided to box with them. And even though it was tough, he still held his own. And of course his father in Osborne, like, I can only imagine how proud he must be watching his son boxing Yoon Kai-Fi, like the legend of legends, bro. And of course Cassius, who led him to be able to overcome himself and earn that Divine Blade title in the first place in that sequence in Cold Steel 4. It was just such a powerful moment for me. And like I described earlier, having Crow, Toa, Fee, and Altina there in particular, and them acknowledging, recognizing just how important this moment is for Reen, was so key. So key, so much so that I hope that we can get a moment in the next game and or like in a remembrance episode where like the other members of Class 7 could be like, yo, did you really do that? You not only met with your master, nah, bro, with his pops, bro. Yo, man, if he can have a moment going back to his family in Ymir, and they're like, yo, I'm so proud of you for everything that you've done up until this point, being able to go and fight against the legendary Yoon Kai-Fi on an equal level. Like, that's how far you've come as a swordsman. It's like, it's so beautiful to see. And I think back to the incredible visual novel sequence from the drama CD in Cold Steel 1, and once again going back with Reen's self-doubt and how much his dad believed in him, and how much the Class 7 believed in him and his family believed in him. To see that very same individual do this, it just hits on an entirely different level. It's specifically because of what he's attempting to achieve, right? Like, he as not only a divine blade, but as someone who's trying to master the way of the sword. It does not get much higher than the gauntlet that I just said. Victor, legend of Erebonia, McBurn, whom every single person compares anything to in regards to strength in this series, Aryan Rod, and Aurelia, the strongest of the past and the strongest of the present. And then, of course, the legendary Gileath Osborne. To have these individuals acknowledge you on your path towards this moment of being able to box Yoon Kai-Fi one-on-one, the man who taught you everything you know. It was just so beautiful to see, and I can't wait for their eventual reunion here in Kai No Kiseki 2 as well, because I know that is going to lead to a very powerful moment where they can finally sit down and have that conversation, not just with their blades, but also as a one-on-one conversation, whether, of course, there's going to be a lot of trollish activities involved, especially with those two. I guarantee you, Yoon Kai-Fi is going to be clowning them for a lot of things, but with the heartfelt one-on-one, considering, as Yoon Kai-Fi said, he understands the hardships that he's gone through. Like, he knows how much he went through in regards to conquering the ogre state and everything, losing a friend, and everything they went through in the Civil War, doing things that he didn't want to do. And then, of course, dealing with the pressures of being a hero and coming into Cold Steel 4 and having to be the sacrifice. There's so many things that he'd gone through on his journey, and yet he knows he's still never strayed from his path. And I'm sure Yoon Kai-Fi, as his master, must feel so proud to see that same individual now having controlled that state that bothered him for so long and fight him one-on-one to the point to where he can also go into it and they can do their thing. it must have been a really powerful moment for you and Kai-Fi. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how the two of them have their conversation in the next game, if that ends up happening, or somewhere down the line, or in a Path of Remembrance, whatever it is. But I do want to see that, because it's something that that I just need. Similar to how I never got the graduation for New Class 7 that I really wanted, and I hoped that I would get one day. I hope that the Yoon Kai-Fi Rin one-on-one conversation doesn't end up being that I could at least get it like in a Path of Remembrance and or in the next game, like he says at the end of the game, similar to what the Grandmaster tells Van and the squad, like after the Kaiten stuff, we will meet again. And so I'm really hoping that that will end up being a reality in the next game. But come on. Come on, my boy's out here doing his thing, bro, and I'm so happy for him. Like, both as a person, obviously, but also as a swordsman, what he's trying to accomplish. It was just so beautiful to see, man. So beautiful. So that entire route, I enjoyed every single second of it just because of that. And there was all the hype moments and all the really just crazy twists that continued on, while everything was thematically consistent throughout each individual route, leading back to ambition, the consequences of ambition, as well as AI, illusion versus reality, what's real, what's fake, lies, which was a big thing in this game. So many things, hiding things in plain sight. I mean, so many different things that were prevalent in all three routes that I was really impressed with how well written this game is. But going back to Van, because that route definitely was, I mean, it was the most fleshed out, because I think it had like 7 parts. But it definitely was the biggest highlight, as it should be, because it's his third part. But Van Arkwright truly set himself apart in this game as one of my favorite characters. I think he solidified himself as my second, right behind Rin, because he was just so sensational in this game. Even I remember there was a moment early in the game where we first see the Another Dawn stuff, and we see the first dude, the one who gets sent to the hospital. When we saw him there, and Van was like trying to talk some sense into him, I was like, bro, that's my MC, man. That's my MC. And so that was then. Then he goes through everything else that we see Van go through in this game, and he's already gone through so much. But then we got the certain flashbacks to him and the man whom he called his father, the one who was in charge of the orphanage. We got to see some flashback sequences there, as well as some brand new flashback sequences with him and Elaine and Renee, and it's like he's gone through so much, but the bonds and connections that he's made with these other individuals whom are relying on him to stay himself so they can also stay themselves, it's a big burden to carry. And so we see him go through each individual section. The auction house section was really awesome. I always love auction house sections, but when that led into all of the insanity there with Ouroboros, and I was like, man, this game's really getting into it now. And as the mysteries continued to unravel, and we started to see the Confession Connect event with Elaine, and then the date sequence with Agnes, I was like, bro, this stuff is really hitting, and it's hitting in a different way than I was anticipating. Because like I said, I went into this game thinking I was gonna get like just straight hype and great storytelling. Instead, I got that, but I was also placed in a situation where I just couldn't stop thinking about the high concept stuff that they were introducing, as well as the emotional stuff that they were really hitting. Because this is a very personal game for a lot of these characters and what they have to deal with. I mean, it was done so brilliantly, especially whenever I think about Van's route. And as we continue forward, and then we go into Anchorville, and we start building on the stuff with Judith and with Rosette, and what's truly going on there with Aaron. And it's like, man, what are we truly like? What's going on in the background, dude? Great moments with a lot of the side cast, but Van just continued to push forward, man, because that is what is expected of him, and of course that is what he will always do. But I thought it was very interesting how he only really used Grendel, to my recollection, within the main story like 2 or 3 times. All the other times he was himself. And I just thought that was really interesting, because they did the same thing with Rin, where he only entered the robot once. So we really got to take a look into these characters and who they are. But Van truly coming off of that finale, besides Anya's being the MVP and what she did and like how much that hurt from, like I said, someone who's so weak to the memory stuff, and how much that hurts me whenever I see it done in anything. But in particular here, because of my connection to Trails, I couldn't stop thinking about Van. Because if it were not for Anya's, Van would still be lost. He never would have met Fairy, Aaron, Rosette, Judith, gotten back in touch with Big Boss, Beauregard, Quatre. I mean, all of the members of the Solutions Office, he never would have met them and or have allowed them to join in and become a part of the Solutions Office. He would have continued doing stuff by himself. Because Anya's really was the glue that held it all together. And so I felt so much for him in that moment, especially after all the stuff he had said throughout the course of the entire game, which, by the way, a lot of the side quests in this game, once again, similar to the Grim Garden, not sure why that stuff was optional, man. There was some incredible stuff written in those side quests. The Anya's novel side quests, phenomenal stuff, and truly hit home. There was one side quest for Sunshine Anya's. There was one side quest that had these kids that were switched at birth in Anchorville. And one missed opportunity I thought there was that they should have had the Ren connection brought up there with talking about how a new family and being a part of a family that's not from your blood can still be a really powerful and beautiful thing. That to me is something that they should have done, but instead they give me Harwood. So I was like, "I'm my guy." You know what I'm saying? Is that what they give you? I was forgiven. It was great to see him. He also had an episode in the Grim Garden where we see him with Sharon, and I was like, "Oh wow!" When they found Sharon, it's Melchior, Sharon, Letty, and Harwood, and I was like, "Oh, this is so good." I love this. Also, another really cool episode with the Disciples that I thought was really good. The Sophie one, which hit extremely hard. The Reset one, man, and I'm so curious as to what we're going to be building here with Reset and this whole coming from the future thing. So Reset, coming from 1259, we see a flashback where she's there with her, with I believe it's her dad and mom or her grandma and grandpa. And you see the origin story behind her, and it was just a really emotional thing compared to, or it's an emotional thing because of what we know of the Reset of today. So it just hits extremely hard seeing how much she's changed because of the circumstances surrounding the Star situation. And now she lost so many of that stuff. Once again, going back to the importance of memories, right? So I think Reset is going to be such a major key thematically for Kai No Kiseki 2. I'm fully expecting Kai No Kiseki 2 to have, in the Kevin and Reen side, we're going to see characters that weren't there last time and are here this time, just like it's been consistent throughout their entire series when they do these resets. Like just like Estelle and Joshua were there for the SSS and didn't allow, and it allowed them to be able to defeat Joachim at the end of Zero. In a similar type of way in Cold Steel 4, how the bonds made between all three of them, the three main characters, allow then everyone else to come in at the end of the game and actually be the reason why Reen and Crow and Millie end up surviving, and that they end up winning everything there at the very end without Reen having to sacrifice himself. And you have that Adventures in Infinity War moment, or Endgame moment with them coming out the portals and going up like somewhere. So I'm fully expecting that next game where there's going to be different characters. There's like Rias, for example, will definitely be with Kevin this time around, I'm thinking. If we're still doing the route thing. And then on Reen's side, I've been thinking, like, who is going to be there with him? Are we going to have other members of Class 7 and or new Class 7 with him this time that will be that will make some sort of difference in their particular section whenever we make it back to, if that's what they're going to be doing? Because I still don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do, bro. I don't know if we're going to have like a Kuro 2 situation where we go through the thing again, just like in a sped up form, or are we going to go through completely different events? Because the way I see it, I see the next game opening up in Daybreak 1. And Van starts off, Anya's is not there, and it's business as usual. We get the call, we see Giacomo, we see everything that's happening, but Anya's is not there. And maybe the Genesis is the first thing that really clicks in his mind, and maybe that's whenever he meets up with Reset or someone, and in that moment, he comes to an understanding, like, man, there is something missing. And then you have the memory sting, which hits absolutely hard, and that's how the things continue to uncover, and then we have to go on and recruit everyone again. And then maybe that'll be done like in a more faster paced version this time around. And then it'll be a similar thing with the routes. We're ready. We know what the mission at hand is. We don't find Anya's. Maybe we see where Anya's is and where it is that we have to go and get her, or how we get her back. Regardless, do we have to collect all 8 of the Genesis in order to bring her back? Is there even a way to bring her back? Like, there's all these questions because now they don't have the Genesis anymore, bro. She just used them. Like the 7 Dragon Balls. So it's like, I don't know. But it's so fascinating. Like, it's so Kai No Kiseki 2 there's so much going for this game, because we're gonna get a lot of answers in regards to what's actually going on here with like the Eternal Recurrence plan, and then so let me talk about this for a second, because I don't know if this is a mass translation or something that's actually a part of the game itself. But one thing that really stood out to me, that I've been thinking about a lot, is when the initial reveal comes out that things have been like in this loop, when the characters start talking and stuff like that, like saying like, oh, in this particular loop, this is what's gonna happen. There's been thousands of other loops, and this is what's happening this time around, whatever it is. It just made me think, like, when did everything stop in those loops? Was it always in 1209 at this particular time, which is why Claude knew that it was going to happen here? But if that's the case, then why does Reset live in a timeline where 1259 is not, like 1209 didn't end, because of course in 1259 in Anchorvale she was there 50 years later. So it just makes you think, how is that possible? Like, how is that possible? And so I'm really curious as to where we're taking this past, present, future thing. Because Reset's from the future. Obviously, we're from the present. And then from the past, we still have the characters like your Dominique's and, which she never died, but the characters from her generation, which we saw as parts of the remnants, and individuals who have died, similar to like the Cold Steel 3, Cold Steel 4 situation. So we know we're going to get a lot of payoff there for that stuff. But, excuse me, just the past, present, future stuff is, and how that's all coming into play at the same time, is one of the things I look forward to seeing the most out of the next game. And in particular, how they're going to handle so much of that stuff and keep everything cohesive. Because they did a great job of keeping a lot of stuff cohesive in this game. And there's a lot of high concept stuff here. A lot of stuff I could not stop thinking about in regards to what it truly means to be human, and what it means to be alive, and memories and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff here that I haven't been able to stop thinking about, obviously, as well as the final sequences of the game. But it's just, there's a lot of potential here. A lot of potential for another masterclass that could even supersede this one. Because now we're going to be completely emotionally invested to go get Anya's back after what she just did. But how are we going to do it? That's a brand new mystery. Is it even possible? How are we going to go about it? Is there a way for us to do it? How is it going to happen? Like, but however it ends up happening, I'm as invested to go get Anya's back with us as I was to go get Joshua back, as I was to go get Kia back, and as I was to get Reed back. So now it's going to be the time to go get Anya's back. And I'm sure the journey to get her back and what each individual character has to go through, because I'm sure, based on the setup from this game, every single character is going to have a boss they need to overcome, that fight will then be them overcoming themselves. For Van, it's going to be Renee, which obviously is going to be extremely key and important. I cannot wait for that, man. That's going to be so good. The Renee stuff and how we build on that next game is going to be peak fiction. Super, super excited for that. Looking forward to seeing who Fairy's opponent is going to be. Fairy's going to have to overcome her whatever obstacles she has in her path and herself in order to get to the point to where she can attempt to get Anya's back. At least this is the way I'm looking at things, right? So Eren obviously has to overcome his ancestor. We're gonna have Reset coming to terms with her past, which I'm sure has to come and play into some sort of battle. Bellegarde, as a former member of the church, also has to come into some sort of conflict there. I'm not sure who that would be. Judith, we're already seeing the writing on the wall for that. She's probably going to end up coming face to face with Dominique, which is going to be a really interesting scenario and conflict, as well as Chloe, her mother, which that was some really good stuff in this game with those three characters. And then Quatre, obviously, with LaToya Hamilton. And so all these characters have a connection that they need to resolve, that when they do resolve that and overcome that piece of themselves, they will then be ready to go in and get Anya's back. And so that is going to be a sequence that is going to rival Fragments just off of how much we love Anya's, right? Like, that is going to be a Fragments level section to go and get her back. I just wonder how late in the game is it going to be? Is it going to be an early section in the game like Cold Steel 4? Will it be like the end game where we go in and try to get her? I'm not sure. Man, because we're in a completely new playing field now. And when they say that it's Van's final episode specifically, are they implying that Van could die in this next game? I'm not ready for that, man. I just saw Anya's do what she did. I'm not ready to see another character I love potentially lose his life too, because I know how self-sacrificial he is. And he'll be willing to do anything in order to get her back. Right, like, so it's because he knows how much that she means to the other individuals in the office as well as to himself, and so he'd be willing to do anything, similar to how he did in Daybreak 1. So then we're gonna see how Van has grown as a character from Daybreak 1 until now, and how the other characters could potentially snap him out of attempting to do something like that, right? And that's gonna be so good, which is why the memories thing and how we play into that in the beginning sections of Kai 2 truly are going to set the table for how the rest of that game could go. But man, dude, I love this game so much. Like I said, I went into it thinking about so many different possibilities and the different things that could happen within the game. In particular, for like the Amelia stuff, it was so excited to see what her role would be. She ended up being a really great addition to the series. In particular with the fear of heading up into space, which was definitely, we understand why she was having those fears and doubts now, right? With that Zoa Gilstein dude who was up there. But of course, the what was going to happen when the Reen route, the Kevin route, the Van route, how would they split the time between them and everything. And I think they did such a great job of balancing. This is a Arkwright Solutions Office game, but Reen and Kevin also have a story to tell here too. And it's going to continue in the next game, I'm assuming. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what the payoff is in those two routes, because I know the payoff in the Van route is going to be generational, man. And with the Grim Garden stuff, I'm assuming the Abyss area is something that's either going to be post-game stuff that has yet to be released, similar to how it was for Hajimari in Kuro 2, or is that going to be something from the next game, the Abyss area? I'm not sure, but I guess that remains to be seen. But yeah, man, Anya's, holy sweet mother of Flagnards, what a character. She did everything that she possibly could to ensure our future, and I've just been at a loss, man. Like I said, I haven't been able to stop thinking about so many things in this game because they just fascinate me endlessly. In regards to especially the space thing for Trails and what the series, it's always been a very high concept series, especially in certain games where they really get into stuff like that in regards to time and memories and humanity and stuff like that. But in particular in this game, with what they were doing with space, what they were doing with AI, so much of that stuff feels like it's going to age extremely well as we head into the near future. It's such a fantastic story that Japanese media is something that revolves around, at least some of it, the ones that I really enjoy. They have stories that revolve around like these grand moments and these really cool moments that lead into each other. So like I think of some of my favorite stories that you can immediately think of like moments or a moment that can represent either a game, a book, or a section, an arc, a manga, an anime, whatever it is. Like this moment that the series is building towards. And with the Calvert arc, this felt like the finale of this game felt like what we'd been building towards the entire time. The lasting, impressing image that they wanted to give to us when they first initially started creating the games for Calvert. And so as we saw the setup there with how ambitious of a thematic piece Kuro 2 was, sacrificing a lot of elements to ensure that people understood that that section of it, that main base of memories and bonds that reach beyond time and the resets that continue to happen, as well as in Daybreak 1, the things that they were attempting to build up and set up there with the characters, not just within the Enterprise Solutions office, but with everybody else around them as well, the other members of the supporting cast. To see how that all came into a head at the end of this game was truly something special, man. And those final hours for me will be unforgettable for a very long time. A very, very long time. I am scarred by the main menu. And I'm even more scarred by those final couple images of Anya's, and especially the final interaction there with Van. I mean, the Anya's! That stuff hits so hard, bro. So flipping hard, man. Let me talk about Shizuna for a second. Her Connect event was, I think, really interesting. I think it was her last Connect event, where she's gone and lost control because she wanted to feel that thing that she felt in the fight against Reen again. So while entering the state, she wasn't able to control it, and so Van had to come in there and stop her. And we have just a really powerful one-on-one moment with Shizuna and Van that I thought was really great for characterizing her, especially in regards to when we see certain sections of her flashback and that it's implied that Shizuna losing control / doing things in a certain way and caused the scar that Kurogane has and could have done a lot of damage to the individuals around her, and so she was never properly able to overcome that / always remain childish because of that traumatic experience. And I thought that was really interesting because I was not expecting them to go into that. I thought Shizuna was always going to be a character that was like that just because she was like that, and so when they added that, I was like, that's actually a really nice touch. A touch that I was not expecting, but it was very well welcomed. Even though it had been implied, it was still nice to see it there in the Connect event. And similar to the past couple of Trails arcs, there's some Connect events in this game, in this game in particular, that it cannot, they cannot be skipped. So I don't know what, there's certain things that should not be behind Connect events, but it's crazy. It's actually crazy how they've hidden certain things behind Connect events / the Grim Garden stuff. But I think what this game shows is that you should do all that side stuff, like the Connect events, and they even have a way for you to view all the Connect events, even if you don't have enough Connect points, as well as the Grim Garden stuff, because there is some phenomenal story stuff there with the episodes, the Paths of Remembrances things, as well as the little side stories and the Grim Garden and the Connect events, the side quests. The side content in this game was just so good. But the main story stuff, man, is... I'm still trying to process it all, just what a game, man. What a game. And it's that's why McBurn and Schmalgareen are losing their minds when they put the puzzle pieces together. that's what they saw. Beyond the boundary, what lies beyond. And so it's like, what next? What do they do now? How do they stop the reset from happening? And how do we get Anya's back? And what happened to Sophie and Lilia? Did they go through a similar thing too? Is that what what Roy was trying to imply? And it's just like, man, so many questions. So many questions, but they're all buried under just how much I'm feeling for the Arkwright Solutions office. For the rest of the members, they lost a vital piece of themselves in Anya's, and potentially their memories with her, and by association, their memories with the other members within the office. And Van Arkwright, man. It's gonna be such a powerful thing, you know, if we go through that in the next game. Where we see how Van would have been had he not met them, and how Van is because he did meet them, and how that that's gonna be so powerful, bro. I can't wait. Van Arkwright, man. I love these characters so much. And but Anya's, man, all I want for her is to have a happy future. Like she's joined like that select few group of characters. I just don't care what we need to do as long as she's happy in the future, you know. It just hits so hard. This ending hit astronomically hard, man. And the more I think about it, the harder it hits. Because it's just like, man, when you're dealing with memories, when you're dealing with how much you're willing to do for the people you care about, but in particular for that, man, like that's the most difficult thing to do, is to potentially erase the memories of the individuals whom you care of most. Their memories of you. If that's what was truly going on there, man, and even if it's not, like, we can't get her back, bro. Like, how are we gonna get her back? Are we gonna have to collect the Dragon Balls and the Genesis? I just don't know, man. It's got to be connected to the truth of Mare, which, by the way, the truth of Mare, the truth of the Grendel, I'm almost like 100% sure that when we look back at Hajimari, the reason why the Grandmaster showed up in the Grim Garden and the reason why she was the main poster for Hajimari is because there's something going on there with her connection to technology, AI, obviously what's going on here beyond the boundary. But to all of that, because in Hajimari, it's very clear. It's very, very clear. But even throughout the course of the series, Ouroboros has, like I said in this game, they've always had the upper hand in regards to technology. They've always had like the highest machinery, technology, the crazy mechanisms. Like everything has always felt like it's come from the future. So because of that, I'm even more curious of the Grandmaster. Like, what are you, man? Who are you? And I love when Novartis starts asking the same questions that we were, like, what happened to the Great Collapse all those years ago? Oh my God, the artifacts, dude. When they started, so I don't know if this is a mistranslation or not, but I believe what they were trying to say is that the artifacts they've been collecting, things that are not from this time period, are legit artifacts from other loops. They become artifacts because these are things that came from other loops, other timelines. And so I was like, what? Is that truly what they were implying? Is that a lot of the artifacts that they've been searching for are actually things from other timelines, which is why they're trying to collect them so that those things don't start like, it's just like, man, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, which is why I'm so excited for the Kevin Ralph next game, man. I'm so bloody excited. And we also saw the setup there with Yume, Paulette, and Maxim. Maxim was actually planning on telling Yume that he's her father and at the birthday party. And so we still have to have the birthday party. And it was tough to see the play with Nina, who said they said that was going to happen on the 19th. So I just wonder, man. I wonder what we're gonna do, and especially with the Maxim stuff, because it does feel like a lot of the characters, if not all of the characters, are going to have their character arcs culminate as we get closer to that section of the next game, if that's the route we're taking with like the birthday party. We're gonna see all of the character stuff culminate heading into that particular section. If that's the way that we tell the next game, which is going from Daybreak 1 all the way up until the current time. I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. And like, Kondo, what are you cooking, bro? What are you? You know, we were actually playing around with this idea when Trails in the Sky the First was announced. I was trolling in the video saying, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where it's gonna be like a Final Fantasy VII remake, or we're gonna see like the meta narrative and a potential sequel, right?" I was trolling, man. That's a possibility. Thanks, this game. That is actually a possibility, bro. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying Trails in the Sky the First is gonna have all this. I mean, it could. Who knows at this point? Who really knows? But I'm so curious. I'm curious as to how we're gonna go about this, especially because this is our first time living one of these in real time. Like, we've always like felt the impact of one of the resets in other arcs, but we've never like lived through one, man. So it's gonna be completely different, and I can't wait to see what the payoff is. Oh yes, man. Oh yes, bro. Forever a G. Forever a G, dog. What a game, man. Rin and Yunkai 5 boxing. Rin and Shizuna boxing. Man, the Nina scene, bro. That junk was so beast. Kevin, the character that you are, man. I can't wait to see where you go in this next game. The Picnic Squad. But the Arkwright Solutions office, man, all eyes are on y'all. I can't wait for the first glimpse at Kai 2. I can't, man. And to see all these characters again. But yes, just like the Grandmaster said, when all this is said and done once more, we're going to come face to face with her again. And what is going to be our answer that time? What are we going to say that time? What is she going to say to us as we finish off the Calvard saga? Or what we believe is going to be the end of the Calvard saga. I don't know, man. I just don't know. And what does Van's final episode mean, man? Don't tell me my boy's going to die, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know, but this game was sensational. And it's going to be rent-free for a very, very long time. Very long time. Like I said, there's probably a lot of stuff that I'm forgetting here, but I just finished the game and I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm just like, wow, man. What a game. What a game, dude. Just, man, wow. Lagdards, bro. I will see y'all next time. I don't know when this video is going to go up, because my internet's still faulty because of the hurricane. But what a game. What a game, bro. And it's just crazy because, like, as a game, it just... wow. I'm just at a loss, man. I need to process my life, bro. I've been processing life since yesterday, bro. I don't know, man. Oh, man. What's gonna happen with Boot Hill and the VTuber? Do we continue Grim Garden next game? What other characters come? Do we see Alan Richard and continue that for Calvert as well? Like, what happens, man? Was that more Renee, bro? Like, Renee has now become such an integral part of the story with this recent reveal. He's the biggest threat by far, except for the Grandmaster. So it's like, what is he going to do? What is Roy Gramhard going to do in this next game? And there's a lot of puzzle pieces that move on their own that are going to be doing their own things. So it's like, what are going to be their answers to the events of this game? Excuse me, and how are we going to retaliate to that as well? I'm going to assume the final boss of the next game is going to be Renee again. That's my assumption. It'll be Van versus Renee again, and it'll be super, super epic. Could even involve some of the other characters as well, or with their, like Hajimari, where we have like a couple different things happening there. But I'm fully expecting that to be the final boss, as Elaine and Van try to snap Renee into out of what he's currently going through, and let him know that he's not alone. Because as he said, like, yo, y'all don't know anything about me. And so it means he's hiding a lot of deep hidden trauma. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is in regards to Renee, and just how far back does it go with him. Because I'm sure it's got to be just as deep and emotional as Van's story, if they're going to directly parallel each other. So yeah, the Elaine stuff, looking forward to seeing Elaine in the next game, and how we come to terms with that, and the events at hand, how she's going to deal with the Van stuff, and the differences there within, especially if there is a huge, if the reset is actually like taking us back to Daybreak 1, like how is she going to play a factor into that, considering how important she was to Kuro 2 and the end of Daybreak 1? Like how big of a difference is it going to be this time around for Elaine to be there for Van, especially when he's not going to have anyone else. And then like Ren too, right? Because Ren and Anya's were so close. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Grand Reset does to Ren and the rest of the school. I mean, Odette and Albert, like, if Anya's is not there, they're going to be completely different. Everybody's going to be completely different. Like, Anya's has been so integral and key to everything. Like, literally everything's going to change from her not being there. And there's so many fantastic storytelling scenarios and possibilities that you can do from that. And like I said, I'm so weak to that stuff that I'm excited for it. I'm so excited for it. Like, there's gonna be some super emotional moments coming in this next game, man. Calvert, I mean, listen, man. 2 of my favorite main menu themes in the series came from this arc. With Kuro 1's, I really like Kuro 2's main menu as well. But Kuro 1 and Kuro 3, or and Kai No Kiseki 1, generational main menu themes. Generational. And I'm bringing that up because I can't stop thinking about the image, the final image of the game. It's just so crazy, man, you know. It recontextualizes everything. As someone who just replayed Daybreak 1 when the localization came out, I'm looking at the entire playthrough differently. The entire playthrough, like this is what they were leading towards. All these interactions, everything like Roy did at the end of Hajimari, all of that was for this. All of that, man. The journey that they went on as characters. When everything's gonna hit so hard, all of the moments, knowing that she's not there now. And it just recontextualizes everything. That entire final sequence does. And just like, even going back and remembering that whenever like he's like, yeah, in 1209 we have to gather all the 8 Genesis by 1209, if not it's gonna get nuts. And now we understand what that was too. Or he wasn't lying. But how did he know? Did they have like an Akashic Eye situation back in the day where they saw the future, and when they looked at the future, they saw there was nothing there? Because it is very strange, right? Like LaToya Hamilton was taking a lot of those the source for the water from the future. She was pulling that stuff from the future. So she was doing that from a future that was not going to be there. My brain is just, it's bursting, you know what I mean? It's just flipping bursting, man. I don't know, man. And it's just... Bro, man. Yeah, this game messed me up so bad, dude. It was crazy. I really wanted to dive into Metaphor right after I finish this game, and I'm still gonna do that. But I think I'm gonna have to take a couple days off. I'm gonna take a couple days off from everything and just be like, man, I gotta process this, bro. Like this thing hit way too hard, man. That ending hit me so hard. It hit me so hard, man. I still can't believe the prologue. You know, when the game started in the prologue, and I saw all the characters get together, and then especially when we had the meeting with all of them, similar to Cold Steel 4, where we had like all the red exclamation points, and you have to go talk to all the characters like on the ship, on the Courageous 2. I was like, you know what? Maybe these characters aren't going to be together in the end game. And then when they put all the characters together early on in the Grim Garden, I started thinking about it again, like, are these characters even going to be together in the end game? But they have to, right? Like that wouldn't make any sense otherwise. This is the last Calvary game. So as everything continued, the clues were there. Like, yeah, they start off all together in the prologue. They meet each other here because there's not going to be an opportunity for this later. Same thing in the Grim Garden. I think whenever they're all talking amongst each other, and so it's like, we're doing this early on. That means they might not be together in the end game. And I was right. But I just wasn't expecting to be like that, you know? Like, who would have thought this game would be the one to bring back the Sky FC Cold Steel 1, Cold Steel 3 cliffhanger? The classic Trails cliffhanger. And maybe the hardest hitting one at that, man. Just crazy stuff. Just crazy stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be it for me. Please let me know what you thought about this game in the comments section down below. If you've had the opportunity to play this game, I just want to hear your thoughts. I just want to hear how y'all are processing this game, because I can't stop thinking about it. I just finished it. I'm going to be thinking about it all year. I need Kai 2 so bad. But I can tell you, after finishing this game, I was just so grateful to be alive, while at the same time being like, just so empty, but in the best way possible, because I just experienced something absolutely peak. Flipping Anyas, man. Oh my god, bro, that entire final section is just stuck in my head, bro. It's crazy. It scarred me, man. It really scarred me, bro. I'll see y'all next time. Hopefully I can get this video up as soon as possible. But until then, take care. Kondo, man, what are you cooking, bro? What are you cooking, man?